warm welcome to the Big Q, a segment where it is all about you, where you set the topic, where you have a chance to actually talk to the leaders. In the studios is the Deputy Vice Chancellor of University of Rwanda, and he is in charge of Administration and Finance, Mr. Prudence Rubingisa. You're welcome to the studios.
Thank you.
I'm going to start with a question that I saw you had already answered on Twitter, as one of our followers had already asked. And that is Mr. Bwenje Jihanga, who said, why force a student to retake a whole academic year for failing only English?
As I said when I was replying to the student who asked this question on Twitter, we simply follow, we simply comply with our own regulations. Academic regulations that are out here that we normally follow, but also the Higher Education Council guidelines. A student, we normally teach English in year 1 and year 2, but a student cannot be allowed to be promoted in year 3. You know, we teach everything in English, and it is a core, subject for the students to be able to follow other subjects that are being taught in English.
Alice Buyinja says for any country to develop, it must invest and trust its own human resource. Yes. It's there as such programs as retaining best students, maybe retain them as assistant lecturers and later scholarships to add their knowledge. And the reason why she's saying that is, why do we see many foreigners as lecturers? So
we do retain our best students. We attract them, but there are also those who don't have that passion to become an academician. Yeah. At the beginning, when the university, even the former higher institutions, the merged institutions, public institutions that were merged, we had at the beginning that lack of qualified teaching staff. The Rwandans now that we have within the university with a PhD as a high academic level are only 20%. Of course, we need to see how we can keep relying on expatriate staff where we have that lack of qualified local staff. Yeah, sure. There is that exit strategy, whereas we are capacitating our staff to upgrade their levels, but again we phase out. But it's not phasing out to 0% because we still need that mixture of not only culture but also expertise in different areas.
Sure. Now we head to Musime Ruranga. What has been achieved in terms of quality of education after merging all the public institutions? Recently you were celebrating your 2nd graduation.
Yes.
Hasn't it affected negatively the quality and standards of some colleges, especially former SFB?
Since the University of Rwanda was created, we are now approaching the end of the transition period. The law gives us 2-year transition period. We focused, first of all, of course, tackling on the quality, the harmonization of our programs, so that one could say, I want a student graduating in finance within the University of Rwanda, no matter from which college, because if the College of Business and Economics, known as the former School of Finance and Banking, is now offering those courses, but in Kigali, Nyagatare, Butare, Huye, and we want now the university to tackle that quality by what I was saying. We harmonized our programs. We conduct a regular review of our programs to match the market needs to what we are teaching. We are also trying again to capacitate, as I said, our staff. Of course, I'm talking about upgrading their levels, regular trainings, tackling on the research component.
And now we head to Alexander Bahati. Infrastructure limits the number of students the university can take up a year. Are there any plans to use the public-private partnerships to overcome this hurdle?
Yes, of course, it is still at a very, very, very low level. We want to bring in the private investors in higher education. Actually, it is in education, generally speaking. It is not only that we still have issues in infrastructure, but also how do we use the existing infrastructure. We are trying to, of course, have our harmonized academic calendar at different level, you know, the teaching timetable at different levels, so that there is also efficiency use of existing infrastructure. I'm talking about laboratories, classrooms, you know, here and there. A student now, that is the beauty of the merger, can be in Huye but be able to use libraries, ICT labs, science labs while in Kigali, which was not the case previous because they were separate institutions. So I'm seeing the issue of infrastructure not really a big issue currently. So we want the private sector to come in not only for the infrastructure but also for the joint research activities.
Now the last one, briefly, Dr. Mujasi Ishmael and Witero Patrick want to know the strategies in place to have the University of Rwanda among the best universities in Africa, East Africa, or the world. They're saying, what is missing?
What is missing? Yes, the first thing that we've been missing was to have enough PhD staff, PhD holder in academia. As I said, the percentage is still low. But when you look at the strategies we're putting in place to develop that capacity, but also to upgrade our teaching staff at a level of PhD, we are seeing some light. That really that is going to be sorted out. By 2018, we shall be having at least 50% of our staff with PhD, and there is also a strategy up to 2025. So we're also working on the research component. It goes with, of course, having enough and a well-equipped infrastructure, labs, equipments. We're also teaming up with well-known international universities so that we can be training our staff in doing research.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Imi.
And thank you so much for the questions that you send. And remember to follow us on Twitter at RTV English and Facebook at RTV English still. Next on the BQ is Mr. Tony Nsanganira, the Minister of State in the Ministry of Agriculture. And I'm sure you would love your question to be answered. So send it in.